Welcome back to the workshop where we're still working on the Gremlin build, which we're actually calling the Grinch, which I guess works out since it's the Christmas season. But we are going to go green on this. Thank you for all the comments that we're going to stick with the green. We're going to call it the Grinch and move forward. But before we can paint this body, we got to get the bodywork finished, which the rest of the bodywork we need to do is actually out back here. So let me turn it around. And you can see we've got a big gaping hole in the back here. And so what we're gonna fill that hole with is actually a tailgate that's gonna open downways or gonna hinge down like this. Now, of course, the original Gremlin, this didn't open at all, but we're gonna make it open because I wanna have the glass open, and with the two openings, we'll have this big, nice hole where we can look in and see the custom interior that we're gonna be building in here. So I wanna have a nice way to look in at that interior. But before we do that, before we hinge anything, I wanna get the bumper in here. So I wanna build a custom bumper that's going to go back here, and I want to do that first just in case the hinges are going to need to go in somewhere and involve the bumper. So I want to get that done first, and what we're going to plan on doing, or what I plan on doing, is basically the same thing like we did up front. A nice, simple, clean custom bumper. This is the custom bumper we built for the front of the car. We're going to do the same thing in the back. We will have to have a recess for a license plate, but other than that, just nice and clean, almost like a roll pan. And to do this, I'm going to start by using some cardstock. I'll cut up a template that I'll make sure fits perfectly here, and then we'll move the styrene. In fact, let's just stop talking about it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, what I went ahead and did is cut a piece of cardstock. You can see this is just flimsy cardstock, nice and cheap material to use to mock up the bumper with. I went ahead and cut it 3/4 of an inch deep or tall so that we have a strip of 3/4 inch cardstock. And I went with that size because that's the same depth as the bumper up front, and I want the two to match, and I think that's going to give us a pretty good profile back here. Now, this cardstock's nice and flimsy, and we can manipulate it all we want, but when we start cutting this out of styrene, it's going to be flat. So when we have a piece of flat styrene here in the back, you can see we're going to have big gaps on either side. So what we need to do is build out a top piece of the bumper that'll give us that profile, and then we'll be able to bend the styrene to that profile. So what I want to do next is I'm going to get some cardstock, probably about another same size piece, and I'll start working on finding that profile, cutting it down out of cardstock so that we can get it just right, and then we'll match the two up, and that'll get us a good start for the bumper and a good start for building out of styrene. So here's the thin piece of cardstock I'm talking about, and what I'm going to do is I'll hold it underneath. Now this is going to be actually the top side of the bumper, the top profile of the bumper, but what I can do is actually hold it underneath the bottom side of the body and use this profile, trace this profile, and that'll give us the same profile we have up top here that we can build that top plate out of, and then mold or basically build the entire rear bumper around. So what I'll do is I'll just get a good Sharpie, I'll trace this out, and then we'll get to work from there. Here's my first cut at the profile. So if I lift it on up, you can see we're actually very close to the correct profile here for the back. Now, what I do have to do is add in this little notch here. That's basically where the license plate's going to go. So I think I'm going to follow that. I'll follow that contour. I'm debating on just taking it all the way down, or what I actually might do is create an overhang right here and then have the license plate below it, because then we could have a little license plate light or something like that here. But I still need that profile built into this top plate. That little indentation there needs to be into this top plate, so I'll add that to it. We're also a little wide. If I put it back up here, using a scale battery to help out holding it up here. We're a little wide on the edges, so I'll adjust that just a little bit. But I think this is a good start for getting this top portion. And this, like I said, once we have this profile in, which then I'll trim it down to follow this profile, because I just want the bumper to stick out maybe 1 millimeter or so, just to give it a little body, I guess, a little depth to the bumper itself. Once we have that profile, the rest is very simple because it's just a nice flat bumper that's going to follow that profile, and I'll follow this for the license plate cutout. But anyway, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down for a second. I'm going to get this all mocked up. When we come back, I'll show you exactly what we have. If there's any problems I run into, I'll let you know. By all the cardstock scraps you see laying around, it actually took a little bit to get this profile correct, but I think I've got it right now. You can see just how thin it is. Now, of course, ignore this bad tape job I did, but I went ahead and taped the this top plate to the 3/4 inch piece we had, and I think that's going to give us a pretty good base to start from for our rear bumper here. I think I've got the correct profiles on the edges. Basically, all we'll have to do is add an end plate to it. That's easy enough. So what I think I'll do, I'll go ahead and cut this apart. And then trace it out on some styrene and start working from there to get the final piece put together for you guys so we can take a look at that today. So now here we go. Here we have it out of styrene. So it's nice solid styrene. I took the templates, just traced them out, glued them up. I do want to point out I glued this on a bit of an angle so that it kind of angles back towards the body. The main part of the bumper, that is, will angle back towards the body. And I'm also going to point out that this top plate, I left it pretty chunky. Because what I want to be able to do is go in with some sandpaper and fine tune it so it'll fit exactly how I want up underneath this ledge here. So I left a little bit of material there that I can work with to make that happen. And then if I turn it sideways, you can see all we're going to need to do now is add these side plates to fill these end gaps here. This end gap down here, you can probably see. We'll add just a plate, basically like we did up front here. We'll add these plates like this. Let me move it a little further. We'll add these plates so that it fills that gap. And then we'll have a rear bumper. So I think what I'll do, I'll go ahead and do that real quick. I'll get it put together and then we'll do some final gluing and we'll get a final look at it. Just wanted to bring you guys back for a quick update. So I've got the end plates glued on and I've actually got this profile pretty close to what I want it. I've got it just all of this essentially tacked together with some CA glue. What I like to do is I'll use some medium thick black CA glue and I'll go through and glue the rest of it. Now I like to use black to do the full seams so I can kind of see that I'm getting it all glued, and I like to use the medium thick because it'll fill some of those gaps. So let me get that done real quick and we'll take a look when we come back. Here's the black glue that I was talking about. So this is medium thick Starbond CA glue, and you can definitely tell that I've got all the seams nice and glued, and then it also really fills up the gaps kind of nice for me. I went ahead and also started sanding the end plates, getting them to shape, and getting everything smoothed out and sanded into shape. And within about an hour, we've got a pretty good rough start for a back bumper. Now, I've still got to add a little bit of body to these end plates. And then I've got to also create a way for them to mount. And the way I'm going to do that is the same way we did up front. I'm just going to take the original back bumpers tabs, the little tabs in here, mounting tabs. I'll glue those, and actually what I'll do is I'll mount them up and then glue the bumper to them, but I'll cut them off of the original bumper. Speaking of, here's the original chunky, nasty looking bumper. I'll cut them off, mount them up, and then we'll glue the bumper to that. And then I've also got to create a recess here for a license plate. So I'll just box that in, a recess here for a rear license plate. And then that'll have the rear bumper finished. And I'll go ahead and prime it up and it'll be ready for paint. And then we can move on to working on the hatches back here. So the tailgate and the glass. But let me know what you guys think. You like this bumper, this kind of roll pan style bumper, better than the original bumper? And then do you like it better body color instead of the chrome? I think I'm going to do it all body color, the green. But let me know what you think down below. Hit that like button if you would. It really does help out here on the channel. And subscribe so you can keep up with these builds. I'm doing shorts. I'm doing full-length uploads. So hit the subscribe button to keep up with those. Thanks so much for stopping by today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.